listen to me, and he got off the road and he just slowly slid about a quarter of a mile all across the entire landfill and ended up out where our retention pond is from the road. It took him a
Yeah, I remember that. And
Review and approval of expenses.
Okay. Expenditures. A payment of $80,000 to PDHP. And that is for both months, January and February. That. Another large payment was $4,406.50 to Airgas for floods and taxes for staff that we used last fall. And then made a payment to ANCS, which is the same software for the project management, $5,700. Had two invoices to Kurt's Custom Welding for work on preparing. One was for $2,000 and one for $1,600 for $600. Total fuel for February was $22,577.88. We also made the gold man for $54,155.70, and we used the set aside funds to transfer it to the. We are a little bit behind by space.
As you know, this is part of the city question. If he doesn't let in manner for the time frame, it's also goes on to later. So basically, has to stop together. Roll that into a bigger project. We'll need a rate study. So, but long-term finance, so that they still may be helping us with end up putting that out. That long-term financial bond, loan, whatever they might come up with. We all got our they may help us write up that RFP. Still on that. Not really half of what we go ahead and stop that study. RFP, yes, very good.
I already did reach out. He sent me documentation. He already checked and made sure that there wasn't. parameters that were already. So he sent me the information to start. It's the last email that I sent you guys, updated packet. I attached it separately along with the other things separately, and I included a complete packet with it. But no, you can go to, it should be on the website too, because I told you that. So this was 14. It's for custom welding with for several years that six addition of about 30 was out of was do with the pack. Yeah, this one. So that's just the wood separate. I found it confusing as well, so I asked for an exact invoice. This is just the back and forth side. Scrolling down, actually, I asked where there was an invoice attached. Put in 272. Yes. Well, it's there is those are real full size full and but local actually master and have them ready. After you figured in transportation, out the same. Yes. So here's the actual
Yeah, the containers are not, works out really well with the local guy. So, visit with him, get 5 other employees, trying to keep it busy, so he's working with us. We don't have to take any transportation, go down and pick up, but going right flat, cast. We're hoping, started on this week, so we're hoping 3 weeks.
And part of the reason we wanted to get these is because last year with Verizon, they were consistently requesting these specific type containers. We didn't have enough to test. And we were having to scrimp and save and figure out how to get them smaller containers. They wanted. How much did it-
But yeah, exactly. Trying to find building. Building the same way. Haven't been long, construction side.
Want to save some shipping.
Yeah. Doing the repairs on that's very good. This for us. Now, to be honest, at first this price is clear off. All the Chris Levi have $18 size. Yeah, three different ways. This is one of them. Yards.
The big thing is having a so adding because we didn't have
A lot of the old ones, yeah, they're very important to have that spot box. Go out, get it. It's time of year, and I'm learning this time of year when a lot of people job hop. Everybody is looking for help as the season picks up, and we've already lost one employee. So it turns out there is money in the budget this year to provide a bit of a full cost. Budget, so it averages out about budget, very good time. Right, sales of the got right. Like go ahead.
Yeah. Let's take your. We do realize that yes, yes, but there's multiple things that about things across the board, like vacation and sick from day one. Hear that? And vacation and sick from day one. URS is from day one. When they receive health insurance, we cover 90% of their health insurance, and that is generally the first of the very next month after the hire date, where a lot of places have to wait 6 months or more before they can get health insurance, or some of them even other benefits. I know it doesn't seem like much, but because it doesn't just add to their wage, it adds on the bottom end of us as well.
And we do try to advertise. I'm learning stuff. It's good. But fortunately, a lot of places it is so it's what's on the paycheck. Oh, one of the best.
It rules the space.
So, some of that, brought that up. With that, not enough. Just right. Getting just yeah, raise that. driver. Like, well, we offer that. Unfortunately, we need it all. Still, so more, so have really good offering, so leave up. But yeah, for the footwork, they can do their own time, all together. We pay. We don't pay them for
Stay. Three.
that was, well, so we initially did discuss trying to do contract. You leave, but in working with USU that actually we're not even paying. The training right now, I don't know how long this is going to go. I honestly think it's going to be like a case by case, so they take them into the role. They have somebody that works full time to try to get their grants before there's still money out there. And that's where that discussion stalled. That yes, I would think so because basically, so you are helping start so that you got to commit license and start a position potentially like and be more of an asset. Just obviously, it's based on skill, training, safety training. Definitely don't want to see somebody else. Oh yeah, here you go. But I can hear the help us with it. Got it. now the foundation. But make it clear that it's cool. Trying to put it together. Schedule based on, so right now. Well, that's the new thing. But right now, one day a week. I mean, the other thing is we're getting a couple rounds. Hopefully, it's, yeah, right. Right, right, and it is, and we probably should. They ended up being, because I mean, that's, I still do, you know. Training you guys up. But a lot of that's. So. The list. So we're gonna opt out of all those. Well, it just sounds like.
It does. I'm trying to figure this out.
Can I sign up? No. But then we'll match it. Because election. Well, but I mean, it's a certain way that. Yeah, you know, we give wage. Programs. So at Christmas, they get, it's the money they've already earned, but they get it as a bonus at the end of the year. So it's Are they expecting to do it? You could have bonuses. I'll do that. Say the number. Now we've been using. Minus January. But getting it, yeah. That's part of work. Give it all away. Yeah. Maybe because it's a little bit pages and reasons. But there's certain time. Yeah.
But it doesn't have to But if it needs, it's awful.
Gonna ramble on too long. Basically wanted to, like, I'd say it has a lot longer, but otherwise it looks like it's good. So the first portion is forming it on what I've been doing. That was more of individually, just to get to know and get your experience and your thoughts on it. That was very valuable. Basically, weekly basis, Chris and myself are acting a location facility. We're taking a big look at discuss what's going on, why we're doing this, why we're doing that, where we're doing it. That has helped a lot. Me to get a better grasp on engineering things that are going on. It brought me up to speed on how the process is elsewhere. And basically come up with plans on what we need to do for those facilities. First thing is some surveying, and we're trying to get that done because that'll tell us exactly where we're. And more we're inspecting all last flowing, flowing, great. Very good. But I'm trying to attack it. There's so much progress over. We try to take it. So I've been really trying to wrap my brain around how cycling works, where we go with it, different options, our costs, things like this. Matter of fact, I'm going to write it, so yeah, every day I come up with different options. While trying to something I wanted to let the board know. I just want to briefly last with contract stuff. Just so you know, it does flat out cost. Eight loads. really all I want to say about that is make sure everybody understands cost. I think everybody knows the contract increase great. That's definitely because they did a lot of work on that. Period. February was an opt-out time, so we opt-out. Right? So, did opt-out. They can do that twice a year. We already talked about purchasing roll-offs for those containers. Talked about it. What we do with the containers. Trying to make it impact, which takes us to the whole 3 can service implementation, which is something that got started last year. Different things happened. Bottom line is semi-automated but this is the first step in getting to that, is to get rid of the risk. Really helped out. We tried to jump started I was counting 311 stops out there with these 3 cans. Pretty close. As of today. Standardizing it, really, and it's truly what it had 45-gallon cans thrown, or they had 5 cans. That was part of it. Didn't start and said that's it. Maybe because we literally had stops that were one house at the 95 and 5 houses. So pick up and arm back. So that is done.
Size cans,
65 and 95, yes, ma'am.
and so you just told me that even though somebody recently, this last little bit wanted the 65, they could not because we didn't have them.
We are looking to we don't obviously sell, and you're right, we don't have any 65s right now. Most people take 95s for trash, not all, most. We're looking to see if we can get a smaller, normally you buy a whole truckload of these and it's like $40,000.
We bought some, yeah, not long before you came. We bought a bunch. I don't know what sizes, but
We, just this month, we bought a truckload and it was $40,000.
all I'm saying is if we're offering 65, we need to get
Exactly.
65.
We've got to get some to be able to offer it. When we don't get those, we charge them the 65 and we give them a 95 until we can get a 65. So we're not forcing that on.
Right, okay.
That has happened one time that I know of. I'm assuming there's probably a couple more out there.
Okay,
But no, we're not forcing them to pay the 95.
okay.
They get the 60, they get the 95 for the 65 rate. But you're 100%. We're looking to see what we can do.
Is that an issue, meaning the time before it was an issue? Just get them.
Well,
Get them
the less you
now.
order, the more expensive they are on an individual basis.
And there's a minimum is the issue.
Most-
Most 65, so you have to get at least 150.
Chris, just this week was doing some
Okay,
research to see what we can do to fix that, because if it's a service we offer, just like the 8 yards or the roll-offs, if we don't have them, we're dropping the ball.
right.
That is a brief of what I've been doing this first 6 weeks. I'm going to continue with Chris on the facility reviews. Part of, I mentioned earlier, the financial future of the district and using a consultant is LJ and Nick and myself had a conference call and go, how do we want to do this? Under Nick's advisement, we're putting together, I'm calling it a 5-year plan for facility repair and equipment. It's a great big wish list because it's probably not, no matter what we do, the money's not going to be there for all of it. But it's important that everyone knows these are things we're facing. So we're putting that together as part of this bigger, long-term 5 to 10 year, how do we pay for all this eventually? Which is one of the reasons I was asking you about the CIB loans, that program, see how it works.
Have you had a chance to talk to Chris?
No, I have not.
I'm meeting with him on Friday. So I'll let you know what time, if you're available, we could call you.
Oh, that would be fantastic, actually. I'd heard from Chris and other people about this program, the CIB, and I finally just looked it up. I try to get it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and then that's why I'm calling the individual recycle centers, talking to the manager on the floor. Just because the driver says that's the way they do it, doesn't always mean that's the way. So I want to hear it straight from the source. But I looked it up, and yeah, we've been on the list for this program a couple of times, but
What's CIB?
Community Impact Board. And so then you have extraction in your county or wherever. Extraction has to pay a portion for the impact it has. And so that all goes to the state and then,
So
individual.
we're not currently getting any.
oh, you have to apply. It's real
Yes.
hard. It's
So
a
it's a-
big
it's a
deal. It's like a
program.
grant.
Oh, and so all that work, what do you get?
Oh, you can get up. We pay for that's why we have the aquatic center. That's why we have it pays for lots. Our new jail. What else have we done?
So the
Osta.
city just went to the CIB board and received to rebuild a portion of King Creek Boulevard between 500 West and the highway. It's about an $8 million project, and they got $4 million grant roughly and $4 million low interest loan.
Wow. So you want to go with big chunks.
And we work really hard to not be competing within ourselves. So that's why we've got, first thing you have to do is get on the list. And then the list is prioritized, but what I've discovered is that it's the person that gets their paperwork in order that gets to go next. But we try not to compete. We never want a county and a city to go to the CIB board at the same time. We want to, because they like to spread it out throughout the state.
It's designed for not municipal, but government entities. Would that be a good word for it?
Yep.
And you can get a lot of money.
For big projects, big and small. But
Go for it, UT.
so that's, we're looking at all options here, anything that we can do to help. So we are going to try and do more homework and see what happens. I'm looking at the way we record tonnages and recycling and diversion rates and calculate this. I'm kind of reviewing this. That would be something that's in my wheelhouse, you might say. I want to make sure we're not double counting anything. I want to make sure we're not leaving anything out. I want to total it all together so we have to focus on the diversion rate as opposed to 5,000 pounds goes here, 5,000 pounds goes there. We did 150 pounds of books, this type of thing. How much are we truly diverting from landfills? So I'm putting that together. Chris is helping and Jessica's going to help make it look pretty, basically. And just double checking that we're doing it right and we're getting full credit for what we're doing. Sometimes people don't count everything. The last thing that we're reviewing is standardizing the facility hours and cash handling receipts and that type of thing. We don't want one facility doing one thing and another facility doing another. So we're considering the hours because that affects the way we handle the receipts and the money at the end of the day. And we just now are bringing it back here. One person handles it, one person makes the deposits.
Good.
It really only makes sense. We were in a situation where operators were going to the bank and then we'd have to adjust their time for their time going to the bank and this type of thing. You don't want to adjust times unless you absolutely have to. It just raises too many red flags, possibilities, even if you're not doing anything inappropriate and it's fully explainable. It's just another thing for a person to ask questions about. So we're looking at standardizing a lot of things. It may mean closing an hour earlier at certain places on Saturdays, this type of thing. But we're still just reviewing it at this time. And I think that is it for me.
Great. Sounds like you've been getting a lot done.
I
Really appreciate that.
I'm trying to make an impact and accomplish things. There's a lot we can do, so.
All right, Chris.
Yeah, I actually don't have a whole lot. As you know, I've been gone, enjoying myself on vacation. But while I was on vacation, I come across some interesting things. I have one of my wife's good friends out there actually works for Veolia, just the worldwide Veolia. So was able to get in some inner workings of their solid waste system. And boy, they even though, so their struggles over there is they don't have landfill space. Obviously, they use that up hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. So they're unique in that, but they're not unique in the struggles they're having with their recycling. I've actually this time I traveled all over England, and they're about as diverse as, if not more so than the United States, in how they're handling a lot of the recycling. One of the similarities I did notice was they are struggling with glass like we are. Even in the Paris airport and the Manchester airport, and there was a town in Wales. You can tell even right down to the containers, like the airport in Paris you can tell there were well-used things where, okay, there's waste on this side and recycling on this side, but brand new sitting right next to that is a glass container. So they're trying to pull glass out there. The one of the cities that my wife is from, they still do single stream where they're still throwing everything in there. That was kind of interesting. I went to this little town in Wales, and I remember having this conversation with Carly when the glass got brought up, and she was like, well, we could get another container and put it in the curbside. And in my response as well, that's good, but then what are we going to just get, all these containers, and then we're going to have, multiple containers? Well, there's a town in Wales, that's exactly what they do. They actually give people containers to go by their sink, where they put their food waste in. They're smaller containers, and their trucks are multifaceted where they can just put all this different stuff into everything, but they recycle everything. So they have a source separated curbside collection. Their green waste, their glass, all their plastics, their aluminum, everything separated into different containers. And I found it interesting that they had their their food waste goes out there, because then that's where they feed into their bigger composting out there, because in Wells, a lot of farms and anyways.
So they're
So-
using all their kitchen waste.
Yeah,
right there.
everything. I mean, I was pretty impressed with there, but it was labor, like super labor
Yeah.
intensive. I know in the place that I was staying where my wife's from, the streets are so narrow, you can't get trucks down. So they actually have crews of people running down the sides of the street, feeding into the truck as it goes down. They've tried to do waste to energy, which means they burn a lot of their things. That got shut down because communities were getting covered with soot, even though they have scrubbers and stuff, they weren't working. And so they've scrapped that. No one really knows what's happening to their trash right now. I wasn't there long enough to figure it out. And as you're well aware, sometimes in the waste industry, getting straight answers about anything's, they're not always forthcoming in what's actually happening. So, yeah, anyways, that's all I got.
Great vacation.
Oh, it was awesome. And I didn't really think about work, but I guess I've only been in trash for 4 years, but I find it fascinating. So it was kind of neat to see all the different ways that people are struggling really with the same issues we are. And it is, I mean, really the answer kind of comes down to it's going to be community based. I mean, every community's kind of got to deal with what the resources and what they have is offered in the community. And Moab is unique in that we're isolated around the middle of nowhere, and we got a lot of people that care about the environment here. So I mean, that's going to be a unique situation compared to other places.
Thanks, Chris. LJ.
I don't have a whole lot. We did lose one CSR, Elena, and replaced her with Curtis Lovato. He is an attempt to hire from Elwood Staffing. He's caught on really well and really quickly.
Good.
So really excited about that. We also lost
Curtis, what was his name again?
Lovato.
Lovato. Is that Robbie's son? Robbie's son?
Don't believe so. I don't think so either. And then we also just lost Kelsey. She left us and went to the city. So we are short-staffed as far as CSRs are considered. We have put notices on the website, Facebook, and the paper, and it's been listed on Department of Workforce Services. I've been able to get some applications off the Workforce Services website. I'm still trying to go through those and weed those out. We've had a couple of other people come in and apply as well, but it's a process to kind of go through them all before we can narrow it down. Another update on the software. We've been having weekly meetings with our new project coordinator with AMCS. I think that I really like this new project coordinator. It feels like she is helping to advance us quite a bit. We now have access to their training systems. We can log in and do some training on our own and kind of see how that goes. We've had, today was our third reveal. So we've been able to look at how the software works on the back end and learn the steps and entering the information that we would need to do. It's looking like we're hoping to get it up by mid-April. The goal is to have it done definitely before the end of April so that we can do May billing through the new software. That's what our big goal is. But we're in order to do that because of TerraTrash's inability to do a data migration, we're going to have to hand key in a bunch of stuff. So, and that's unfortunate, but Jessica and Nick have offered to help us do that. And I have also reached out to the high school to get maybe a couple of interns to come in and do some data entry for us as well. And that is it for me.
All right. Thanks. Good. Jessica.
We've got several upcoming special events. We've got our biannual HHW event that's happening on April 22nd at the Recycling Center from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. We've also got the spring voucher program that will be happening directly after that from, I believe it's April 24th through May 6th. And I'm trying to refine that program as well to make it a little bit more streamlined, because we're still getting calls from people asking where their physical voucher is despite that. And we wanted to hold it a little bit later in the year because I know last year a lot of folks did not freeze all one being as early as it was because leaves hadn't even fallen at that point. So we wanted to push this one forward or later so people would actually have some green waves to bring us. We have our billboard art contest that's going to be opening next week, if I remember correctly, March 21st. I don't have it in front of me. I have too many dates happening in my head. But we have recently acquired a billboard and we have the theme.
Right, you're good.
Yeah, right over here.
Right outside the building.
And
Cool.
I believe it's LJ's idea that,
Nope.
nope, it wasn't.
Just Mike's.
Oh, it was? Oh, sorry, it was my
It's okay,
idea.
it's okay.
That we have a local student from 5th grade and up design under the theme of Red Rocks Green Actions. And that'll be 5th grade up to high school, and they'll have from, I believe, March 21st, like I said, until April 1st to submit, actually, no, it's later than that. I'm sorry, I can't. But they'll submit art and we'll review it, and then there'll be the local students' art
On the billboard, that's
on the
great.
billboard as people come into town. We started the Artists in Residence collaboration with Mark. It is Roundhouse Platform. Theirs is pre-Cretaceous, post-consumer. So they're doing a collaborative art thing, a mix of soils and paper products. I'm quite interested to see how this works. So they're actually going to be doing a site visit on Friday at 1 to start going through some materials. And then on Friday as well, we are reopening the WAG bag discussion with representatives from Grant County, the Solid Waste District, the city, just discussion, the health department and the BLM.
Good.
So what do you mean when you say you're opening the discussion? What is that?
Well, last year we just had the pilot project just to see how it would work, what the weaknesses were, or basically what did work, what didn't work. Kind of get a feel for how much materials are coming in. And now that that's over, we're gonna figure out how we can implement it again with this tourist season starting back up. How we can expand it, who's gonna pay for it, because we don't want this to be a free service on our end. So that's essentially what it is. And then just streamlining it, making it more accessible and a greater variety of places. More places,
Because
yeah.
people get lazy. But
And
it was successful, was it not, the first year?
yeah, we had a large volume of
Yeah.
come in.
I thought it was great. It was implemented quite quickly and, you know, it's like, it's taken care of. I mean, I hope so. I'm glad you brought it up because I thought about it the other day.
Yeah, so we're gonna be reopening those discussions on Friday.
One thing about the billboard, there should be a large runner along the bottom or hanging on that billboard that says WAG bag drop. With an arrow.
Oh, great idea.
You know?
I'll put forth some suggestions of art that might be
Wag bag drop.
eye-catching.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good dance.
The narrow right below it, yeah.
That's right.
Something like this.
Yes, that's right.
Right. Me and Chris will be attending the RCU conference or the Recycling Coalition of Utah conference at the end of March. And that's actually going to be really helpful because there's a House Bill 394 that was recently implemented that requires annual reporting of recycling rates and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And I believe this will kind of help us streamline just exactly what we need to be submitting and allow us to have any questions because there will be a rep there. So,
Mhm.
and just networking. But prior to that, we're actually going to be going down a little bit earlier and touring the facilities of Washington County's landfill and transfer station. So we're going to see how another tourist town with a very limited capacity, we're going to see how they operate things there as well.
Right.
And then something that I have been dying to get my hands on for years. I finally got access to our website.
Oh, yay, yay.
And I have been making sweeping changes across the board, updating a lot of the information up there because we still had stuff from COVID. We had 2019 information on our website, and that was bothering me greatly.
You've been making huge
We've
strides,
been making
major
huge changes
improvements,
to the page.
major improvements.
So updating all the information, adding more links, and I'm going to be adding a page on the transportation because we don't have anything on it. We had outdated information on everything. We have volume, the most recent volumes we reported on our website is for 2017.
Oh, gee.
So, and just cleaning it up, making it look a lot neater, making it easier for people to locate stuff. And yeah, like I said, just trying to streamline that. So that's kind of like been my big exciting thing. I've really been wanting to update our website because it's been driving me crazy.
So you can update it after that, after this, you have access, you know how to do it, you can even update it.
I can update it periodically as things change. So if for some reason something happens and we need to make that very abundantly clear quickly, we have the ability to do it now because the folks that we've been using for the website design, we haven't tasked them with keeping things up to date in that regard when it comes to content. It's more like site security because people are using that as billing. So that's what a web person does. They do updates to the program, make sure our website builder is working properly and that our site is secure. But that's basically all they've been tasked with.
Well, that's not true. Sometimes they'll post the agenda.
Oh, yeah, if we ask them
changes
to
and
do that,
things like
but it's not something we're not like, you need to keep up with our content for us, please.
Yes.
Well, to me, it would seem like it would be better if you would, because don't you know a bit more than they know about us?
No,
You're supposed to say yes.
A bit, yes.
But they do the security too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, you know, I just recently went on, because I'm doing these workshops out in Castle Valley, and oh my God, it was so like different in the city sometimes than it was on ours. And I'm like, no wonder nobody recycles.
Yeah, I'm trying to
You know?
make our messaging more consistent. So basically, even if you go to our website or you go to somebody else's website, it's still going to give the correct information, but it'll also allow me to identify where people are reporting inaccurate information about us. And I haven't made it to the city yet, or to the other websites that do report on services that we offer. I haven't made it there yet. I'm just more concerned about our
Right, that's a
individual
great,
work.
that's a baseline.
Yeah.
But you know, the one that I still have a question on is aerosols containers. I read on, I think it was the city said you can put them in your sand stream, and I'm like, I don't think so.
I don't know about that.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I've never heard that.
But,
You should be able to, it's what they're worried about is like propane containers.
right, and we have the ability up at the recycle center to deal with propane, and I've been taking my aerosols up there, and they do that for me up there too. I don't know what they do. They say, just leave it in the bucket and whatever, you know? So that's that's the information I'm gonna say to the public, take it to the recycle center, you know, I'm not gonna tell them to put it in the sealing stream. I don't think that's. Unless you tell me it is. I'm not hearing that. I saw that.
Most sorting centers can't handle that. They don't advertise it or necessarily encourage it because it's not something that's on everybody's shelf anymore. There's just not that many aerosol cans compared to the way there used to be. They're still there, paint cans and whatnot. The ones that are still out there that might have anything in them, anything flammable, any paints, can make a mess and could possibly explode if it's the propanes. So they usually can take them, they just don't really advertise it.
Well, we have a place too, and I'm gonna advertise that.
Yes.
Good, thank you. That was great.
So on the billboard, I'm just curious, how will it be physically deployed? Will you get it printed on a sleeve or will it get painted?
I think we're still working that out. to be honest.
And who selects the winner in this contest?
All right.
Volunteer.
It's like-
Oh, a volunteer.
I was like, I'll go do it.
We
I'm not.
just literally, what, 2 weeks ago, inherited this billboard,
Right.
and with Earth Day coming up, I'm like, let's kick it off right. In the future, it might be a little revenue, we could rent it out. But we wanted to kick it off something appropriately.
So it was gifted to us?
Well, it was,
It was a long process. Basically, somebody back when Bob had this place made an agreement, and then so who controls this is the Utah Outdoor Control or something through UDOT. UDOT's actually the one who controls these, and you have to get a license. And so he was going to give up his license. UDOT contacted us and said, "Hey, they're giving it up. It's on your property. Do you guys want it? If you want it, you got to get into contact of who it is, and then they can just transfer it to you." And we had to pay a fee. We had to go get forms notarized. We had to wade through some bureaucracy to get it. It wasn't necessarily an easy process, but it was completed February 17th, I think.
And we actually did have somebody that contacted us wanting to rent it out. And was very persistent, contacting me almost every week. And when I told him what we had decided to do with the billboard, he was very excited about it. He actually thought it was a great idea.
Oh, good.
Who was it?
Base jump.
And Jessica, any word on any of the grants? that we submitted?
We won't hear anything until April. I did receive a confirmation from them last week that they had begun the review process, so I don't have anything else beyond that. They're looking at it and they haven't outright rejected it, so I did something right. The
Good.
fact that they're looking at it lets you know I submitted all the things that I needed to submit.
Cool. All right, thank you. Board reports. Who has something to report?
I do.
Great.
I was down at the Youth Garden Project today, and they have, and we're gonna do a workshop down there, a composting workshop that I've done a couple of years with the Moco Gardens, but she moved it up to the site, which is gonna be right on the walkway. We're gonna build a big heap right there. They're gonna make some signage after we're done and stuff, and we'll revisit it in the fall. So, we made them before down at the Moco Gardens, and I come back in the fall and it's still there, and I'm like, well, does anybody, is anybody interested in taking this and putting it? And they didn't even know that it was soil, that they could use it in the crops. So we're starting at ground zero, which is fabulous. Because, you can really make a difference when you start that low in the, but anyway, they also have, and I wondered, I'd never seen it before, they have a working compost pile, a system there. And, they also, I was there loading some stuff about a year or so ago. They also have a chicken wire heap that's no bigger around than this, and they are recycling food kitchen waste, have been for years. They told me that I could, on that day, that they announced to the public, not restaurants. Restaurants want to bring their stuff down there. But they've said no, they know how to say no. But they welcome you and I to bring your kitchen waste down there. And, we're going to play that up this year too, because I wasn't, I'm embarrassed to say, but I was always approached by these kids that would, on the workshop days, and they're going, well, what about food waste? And of course, I don't compost it like this way, but there's many ways you can compost food waste. But anyway, so pretty excited about that. And then the 1st of April and the 8th of April is in Castle Valley with the workshops that we started last year, and we're doing some additional things this year to try to get people to, just to bring awareness. There is a display. I want you all to go see it in our library here in town that was made from repurposed 5-gallon buckets that I put together to bring awareness to this thing that we're going to do in April. And I don't know if Carrie found a place for it. When I took it in there, she says, I don't know where to put it. I said, I don't care. I'm going to leave it with you. You do what you got to do. So I didn't go to look to see. I assume she got it out somewhere. She says, we got to put it where people can see it. I said, that'd be nice. But nobody was seeing in Castle Valley. It was in the library in Castle Valley, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna get it. So, anyway.
Great.
Good. Very good.
Anyone else? Okay. Next up, we have a discussion item, updated review of household hazardous waste program.
Okay, I'll start that and then I'm gonna turn it over to Jessica. This is something that I know, because I work with Jessica, she's been working on this for years, really, literally years. But during our last, I believe it was the last HHW event that we had, I started a conversation because every year what happens is we don't advertise it enough. And people don't know that we do it until the following Monday after we did it, because they get there, they talk to their neighbors, and then we get this slew of phone calls every Monday, you know, through that week. Hey, can we still bring our stuff down? Nope, you got to hold it for another 6 months. So in talking with the people from Veolia, I talked to the gentleman who's in charge, and he's actually been coming down here and doing this for years. Like before he, you know, many incarnations of different things, he's been coming down here and doing it. And the conversation continued to where we could store things. And that's how it came up was, well, what if we started storing things for a week before? That way that, you know, it wouldn't but just be one day that everyone could kind of come down here. Because this is also in trying to answer a community need. We're constantly getting calls about used gas, just weird stuff that you can't throw away. And that's why I started this conversation with his name's Brandon Christensen with Veolia. And he was like, oh yeah, absolutely. And you can really, you guys under this umbrella and we're, you can store things as long as you want. As we furthered the conversation, I found out that he comes down here quarterly for a couple other venues, Dominion Energy being one of them. So this is where how this incarnation of it kind of is going, and I want to kind of emphasize that because there's been kind of concerns about us starting a new program, and there's a lot. I mean, Jessica has worked a lot, not just on the grants, but on this. I mean, we've got training things. It's very comprehensive. It's easily followed. We've got some outs of people are confused about it. But anyways, I'll let her explain. But I just wanted to emphasize the fact that this was just initially an expansion of our Veolia event that was happening every 6 months, and we just felt like the community deserved a little bit more than every 6 months, because we all know what happens to the stuff. They don't hold on to it for 6 months, so it either goes out to our landfill or down our river.
So this was budgeted for this to happen?
Actually, I'm glad you asked. So we spend $20,000 to $30,000 a year. I think last year was 24, but anyways, every year, and it fluctuates. So twice a year, we spend $30,000 a year on this. So in trying to expand our things, we're going to make this a paid service for people, because a lot of things, people are willing to pay for the convenience to get rid of some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So we have no intent of changing what we've already had right away, but we're over the top of it. We're going to implement a paid storage for the HHW. So in hopes that this will transition to where we are no longer paying out $30,000 a year, that will actually it'll pay for itself.
So there will be no HHW on an annual basis. It'll just be all the time.
Yeah, that's be careful there. I mean, right now we're under the umbrella of Veolia. We're expanding our storage for that event. That's I mean, yes, that's the ultimate goal.
Veolia understands this.
Yes.
That's our goal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and they support us. There's multiple training things they've talked about. There's people that work with them when they come down or when they go, because they have a mobile thing. They go around and they do these events all over the place. Yeah, and they have guys that run them permanently up in Provo. We've been invited to go tour. So, I mean, the training and the awareness is there. We just have to find the time to train our staff and everything. It's, Jessica's taking the point. She's got her, HAZWOPer. So we've got our legal things going. We have a couple other people. Ron here has gone through it, and then our 10 is to get everyone kind of certified. But that's why right now all we're doing is we're expanding the storage, time for the Veolia event. Sorry, Jessica, go, she can tell.
No, I mean,
She's raring to go.
So essentially, like I said, we've been running on biannual single day collection events. And every time I've worked every single one of those since I've started, with the exception of this last spring one, I get all of the phone calls. I get people ask me, I just missed it. I was out of town. I didn't know. I just found out. And they get so upset when I tell them that they're going to have to hold on to it. I've had several people yell at me on the phone saying, well, then I'm just going to dump it in the ground. And this is something that's always bothered me. And this has kind of become like a pet project. And because for those that don't know, I'm actually a geologist, and I have 7 years of environmental remediation background. And I worked up in Salt Lake, and I've actually worked directly with Veolia, so I know these guys. I did a lot of oil and gas and PCB remediation sites, brownfields. So this is stuff that I have background in. So, and even when I was running the events, whenever I ask people, I was like, what is something that you want to say about this program? They're like, we just wish you had it more often. And after getting that confirmation from Veolia that this is something that we can do, as long as we do it in a certain order with the proper equipment, this is something that can easily be expanded upon. And I've always felt that if we did it properly priced and streamlined the introduction into the public in the proper manner, that we can turn this into a source of financial revenue for the district while effectively capturing household hazardous waste that we obviously wouldn't be capturing in these in-between periods of the biannual events. So after doing extensive research on household hazardous waste locations across the country, I looked literally from Northeast Alaska to the West Coast. I hit them all, doing price comparisons, what people took, what they didn't take, programs, or how they implemented their programs, whether they used taxes or grants or whatnot to get their programs going. But obviously we're going to be a very unique subset of everything because we don't take taxes. We don't really have that many grant opportunities. So we need to do this in a smart manner. So we have decided that we're going to be hosting this at the CRC like we always have. We've taken a storage shed that was holding documents. We've moved all of those documents over here. And this is actually a much better location to be housing old documents.
Yes.
And we've purchased several, what is the word?
Cabinets?
Well, there's terminology. It's HHW approved prefabricated collection cabinets.
Well
Wow.
said. Well said.
We've got 2 flam cap, and they're all built for certain types of HHW. So we have 2 flam cabinets or flammable cabinets. We have 1 oxidizer cabinet. We have 1 acid and base cabinet, and then we have 1 that's just like your end all be all hazardous waste cabinet. So we have decided, can you pull up my acceptables? We're still going to be accepting the things that we typically took during these biannual events. However, there will be a little bit more of a limitation because some of the stuff that Veolia can directly take, we cannot directly take. That would be things like
Let me down.
the unlabeled, potentially damaged containers, compressed gas cylinders, a little bit wider variety. It would be the one that's got the picture on the top of the HHW. It's brown and yellow. I think it's after this one. But it's just essentially a subset of what we've been doing, but with just a slightly less acceptable list. Up one. There you go.
Uh-huh.
So I've made a
couple of promotional ads. This is not all of them. So the blue and green one is just your typical fact sheet of what HHW is, why it's important to get rid of it, where you can get rid of it, and just a couple of caveats or rules, and then basic information. This one right here, this 2-page, is my info sheet, which directly explains what we accept, what we don't accept, when this program starts, where it's going to be, who it's for, and the stipulations around it. And then on the next page, now this is actually a little bit outdated, so I apologize for that, but that was because of something that happened yesterday. So I made a facility map, we've got hours, drop-off procedures, all that sort of stuff. And then there's also a couple of like smaller ads that we'll be able to distribute through the newspaper, post online, create little neat social media campaigns and that sort of thing. So I've been creating a large amount of back end items. They are not included in this packet because they're not completely finalized, but I wanted to let you guys know what is being created for this program. So for our guys that are actually going to be processing, I'll be monitoring the process intake for the first couple months till we get all of the kinks out of the system. But this is something I'm quite proud of. This is our color-coded cheat sheet. This is all of the most common HHWs that you will probably encounter, because every single HHW we've done, I've written down exactly what people have submitted or have dropped off. So I have a pretty good idea of what our company generates or our community generates. And all of these colors are the colors of the cabinets. So you
Very
cannot
nice.
mess it up.
You painted those cabinets or they?
No,
No,
they
they
came,
came
we specifically ordered them to be completely different colors. So there would be absolutely no confusion about where what went.
Great.
So we won't.
Right.
Yeah, she's done a lot.
Done a lot of work on
And there's
this.
gonna be a
So
notebook.
you're really into the HHW.
Chemicals and cleanups and stuff like these. This is what I did for years.
You got an environmentalist over here.
This really is the stuff
Yeah,
we
I mean, these
want
are
to
my
keep
things.
out of the landfills.
exactly.
Yeah.
Out of the land,
We've
period.
got weekly inspection storage area checklist to make sure that
Nice.
we do not have leaks. We don't have expanding drums, anything like that. That will only be filled out by certified individuals. That will be me, Chris, or Ron, folks that have that certification. Let's see, we will have a color coded tracking system as well.
Wow.
So we can keep an idea of accurate volumes, and we'll be doing, like Chris said, we'll be doing quarterly disposals with Veolia, so we will not be generating a ton of material, so we won't be kicked into generator status, so to speak.
So they'll come quarterly and take stuff away as well?
And then,
And this first one, we've timed, so it's not an entire quarter before they show up. So we'll have a better grasp of how much we'll have. It's only gonna be for what?
A month.
About a
A
month.
month's worth. We did that on purpose in case we get more volumes than we think, or whatever issues we might run into.
And probably your initial will get a lot of volume, the better you advertise, and then it'll kind of go
That's
into
our-
a flowing
Trickle
natural.
in.
Yeah, it'll trickle in. Yeah, that's good.
Which makes it easier to handle as opposed
Exactly.
to 55-gallon barrels all at once.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they've done a good job planning this out.
Good.
yeah, and we're trying to keep all of our messaging consistent. I've been trying to duplicate any wording on any sort of document that has to do with this program, so there is no concern about whether information is going to be different in different locations. Like this is something that me, LJ, and Mike have all put together. This is a frequently asked question for our CSRs. Each of our CSRs have this, and it's basically any question that I have ever encountered when it comes to HHW during these events. So when somebody asks something, we have a preset answer for them, so there will not be any confusion about who gets what and where. And they actually, nobody's actually seen this yet. I'm working on an internal memo that will be delivered to all staff members and will be placed in all the offices that interact with the public. So that'll be both gatehouses, the CRC, my office, this office, that office. This is basically gonna have the entire program in a nutshell. So it'll have, you know, where it goes, what the hours are, what HHW is, the procedures, what's accepted, what's not accepted. And then also we'll have the universal and electronic waste on here because some of the items that are considered HHW, like antifreeze, used oil and whatnot, fall under our universal waste program because they're actually items that are recycled through the state or are funded through the state, like our used oil program. So, and you can't make money on the used oil program because it's funded through the state. We've generated a pricing list and invoices. There's a lot of documentation happening on this program. But I would rather have too much documentation and rather than too little. And like I said earlier about the website, I have actually, and I believe this was included in the packet. This isn't completely what it looks like. Or is it? I did pull this directly from the website. I made a page just for the HHW program on the website. So that will be the one-stop shop for HHW information in Grand and San Juan County. Because I didn't think it was fair that we only operated in Grand County, considering San Juan's like right over there.
Right.
And
We were
then,
gonna get people coming anyway.
yeah.
Sure, we would.
And then last but not least, yesterday we had a mock HHW disposal and intake with all the folks that are going to be associated with it at some point in time, whether they're going to be the folks that are there all the time, like me, Braxton, Chris. But we also had folks that are coming in as backups. So that's some of our operators from like Moab Landfill or Klondike or whatnot. So just in case one of us is unavailable, we have folks that can do it as well. And it allowed us to go through all of these documents and all of these procedures and create an intake procedure that was well thought out, address any potential issues that we might have had.
What kind?
I'm sorry.
What kind of issues?
Potential.
Potential.
Oh,
Sorry,
potential.
me and my words.
I'm not hearing well today.
Well, I said it wrong. Kind of things that might have slipped through the cracks. And then we also did a couple of, what did we call them? Tricks. We pulled tricks on some of them and we'd give them like a thing of oil and be like, okay, write a ticket for that. And it was kind of like up to them to decide, wait, no, that's not part of this program. That's actually part of the used oil program. So we're going to have to tell this person to go to the transfer station because that's our permitted one. Or we give them a leaking container and be like, should you take this? Write a ticket for it. And we'd see if they, caught on that we gave them a leaking container and whether they would write a ticket or not. So it was a really good way to find any glaring issues that we might have encountered when we start this program next week.
So this invoice that we spoke of, at the end of the day, every day, you have to have your balance sheet and the monies that were brought in by way of that invoice has to be in a offer somewhere.
Yeah, it's gonna be part of our CRC box. Yeah, and we've discussed that.
Your CRC box?
Yeah, the CRC deposit box. That's where, or cash box.
Right, your deposit, yeah.
Yeah, it'll all be onto that. We'll just add an extra line item onto the deposit.
I took in my I do my own garbage and I was in here today along those lines. And that guy comes out and he goes, well, you got 4 bags. He says, how about $3? I'm like, how much are they a bag? He says, well, $1. And I'm going, oh, well, and I'm like, no, I'd rather you wouldn't do that. And I didn't say any more. And he charged me $4. But I've heard other stories of stuff like that. Oh, I remember you from last time. I didn't charge you right. I need to give you a discount this time. Now we're old women. I don't think that's the issue. So I don't know, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, I know there was an issue. We had an issue with, the balance sheet not coming out quite right at the ends of the days. And how would you know? Did we ever fix that?
Unfortunately, with cash, that's always gonna be an issue. There's not a whole lot you can do with it. So we are trying
Anyway,
to
it's
phase
just-
out cash.
Well, as it stands right now, I'm gonna be the only one processing these for a minute. So if anything goes wrong with the cash, it's going to be on me.
It was just too similar. I had to bring it up because of that. It's just too similar of an intake. And at the end of the day, some of these, but yeah, I mean, these guys are really nice and us ladies love them. And, of course, I don't, $4, hello, but they're happy, they're enjoyable, they're very, very good work, public love them, but I don't know how you get rid of that. I don't, maybe it's not a thing you need to get rid of. I don't know. We've probably, $4, again,
So that's what we charge $1 a bag.
Yeah, I know that, but what I'm saying is the guy wanted to give me, a deal.
Well, there actually is a thing where we give the board members discounts.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
a
he didn't
thing.
know I was a board member. I couldn't bring
Oh,
it to his
well,
attention. I
okay,
didn't
well,
want to make his day.
That's another issue. I guess I missed that part of it.
No, I didn't, they don't know. I don't think
Oh, there's more of them that watch these things than you
They
think.
watch those old ladies that bring it.
Well, our board meetings, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, well, great job, Jessica. That's
Yeah,
great. I
thank
had
you,
no
Jessica.
idea what was going on with
Okay,
that.
well, just a couple, just real quick. So this is for residents only, not businesses.
Right.
And the other thing that we put in all this documentation is that we can refuse to take anything. But what will happen is they'll get a hold of us and like if businesses really want to, we'll try to facilitate them just working directly with Veolia.
Uh-huh.
So that
Yeah,
was,
that's something I've been developing through that operations plan about how we're gonna handle the potential scheduling of commercial drop off leading up to the Veolia quarterly disposal. Pickup disposals, yeah.
But we did make it clear, like Chris said, the employees are encouraged to say no if they don't know what it is.
Yeah.
If it's leaking, if it's whatever, we reserve that right not to do, because we will get some materials that, no matter how much we think we're getting everything, something's gonna,
Sure.
some mystery liquid in a brown jug will show up on these things.
Of course.
And,
Or a known cylinder that definitely should not have been taken.
yes,
Yeah. And when you get something like that, how does Veolia handle that? How do they don't take it?
well, if they can identify it, they can take it. Another thing is we get this stuff all the time
Yeah,
because it gets pulled out of the transfer station.
sure.
So this helps us facilitate storing our own stuff until we can get rid of it through Veolia. But some of the stuff, the doing their waste screening, the transfer station operators are pulling out. Like Jessica said, we've got cylinders or basically methane, like all the horrible gases that you check
Sure.
for in a landfill. That's what these cylinders contain. So
Mm.
Veolia might even be like, oh, we don't want those either.
Right.
And now we're stuck with them. It's that kind of a chain of custody thing. We're stuck with them until we can figure out what to do with them.
And there are still used oil dumps in town.
Yeah, there's several permitted ones.
Yeah.
You can find them on the UDEQ website.
It's usually, that'll come in a brown box, I mean, not a brown box, but a brown bottle
Mhm.
with no identification at all. Do they take the used oil if they can identify it, or is that?
Here we do.
Yeah, here we do.
We can use
Like
we're a
what?
permitted facility.
Yeah, a lot like with the antifreeze and stuff.
Yeah.
You can identify it, you take it.
And I would assume the other like exception would be like used gas as well.
Yes,
Obviously, you don't go to the store and buy gas, so it's going to be in a container that's
right,
purchased. But those things are also easily identified.
right.
I mean, diesel and gas and oil and antifreeze are easily identified.
Jessica, I think your presentation that you just did would be very, very good to have a question and answer thing like on the radio station here in town. A good PR thing. I mean, wear that shirt indeed. But I'm just saying that people, now need to know that this is an everyday occurrence up there. And that would be, to me, I just think it would be a very good, because you're very energetic about it. You're really into it. And so I just think that would be a good venue if you guys. And then I always put my stuff in the calendar event thing in the Sun News. I mean, that thing's 2 pages long, just the columns, but everybody who doesn't do social media It goes to the community calendar page, you know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've,
and
I've been
that,
trying to identify all the different niches of how to reach folks that
Mhm.
aren't on social media.
yeah.
I've just been more concerned about getting the back end of things sorted
the
out.
Safety.
Yeah, the
first.
because we've got all the PPE arrived today, getting the cabinets, making sure our staff knows exactly how to properly handle things. Once I get that sorted out, then I will paper the town until I'm blue in the face. But I just wanted to get all the.
Well, you need to get on the radio waves too, because I just think that the visual would be very good on this.
Mhm.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Very good. Fantastic. Moving on to new business, approval of excess of trucks number 120, 121, and 122.
I can do this real quick if you guys would like. If you need more information, let me know, but they're basically 3 trucks sitting out on our graveyard on the back fence that we use for park trucks. We've recently been approached for a sale. Well, we haven't discussed numbers or anything, and as we're trying to access old equipment, if we can make a good deal of it, I say let's get rid of them. So
Yeah.
obviously we need you guys' permission to access them, so
So where are they at? What location here?
they're just sitting on the back fence over here.
And what kind of trucks are they?
Sorry, they're kind of being used for parts trucks right now. They're like 90, there's a 93, a 97, and a 2000. They don't run.
But are they pickups? or
They're all-
combined
Oh,
trucks?
sorry,
Or-
there's,
rear loads, aren't they?
well, no, they're basically a semi-tractor truck and chassis.
Oh,
So basically just the cab and the chassis frame.
Yeah,
What did you use them for?
I think they may have been a rear load, they may have been a roll-off truck,
Yeah.
because there was only a single axle on one of them. So they were just old trucks that even Dan didn't use them. And that's kind of what they've been just as if we can't find the parts, you go out there and you start digging in there and maybe you can find the parts. But that brings up its own thing when you start using old parts to repair stuff. I don't know. I don't really like that practice.
right.
I mean, if you need to, you need to. But if we can sell them and get rid of them and clear space off, I would love to get rid of all of our old stuff.
Mary,
I'd like to make a motion to approve of excess of truck number 120, 121, and 122.
I second that.
thank you, Mary. Thank you, Chad. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye,
Aye, motion passes 5-0.
get rid of them, Chris.
Please.
Next up, we have approval to purchase 2 new and or used rear load trucks.
First off, this would come out of the bond money still. Our most people would think most important, but obviously our most visible is to pick up residential trash on a daily basis. Our current fleet averages over 13 years in age. We have 8 over 20 and we have 2 that are over 30 years old. When fleets get sold, you have more breakdowns, more expenses. It's becoming harder and harder to even find parts for some of these. I'm asking for approval to, when we locate what we're looking for, to have it pre-approved so that we can move it efficient and a speedy amount of time. Sometimes if we do go the used route, if you pull the trigger, you need to have the funding ready before it leaves the market. So I'm asking for approval to buy 2 new and or used rear load trucks.
Mary,
Okay, a motion to allow the district to spend up to 500,000 out of remaining bonds funds to purchase 2 rear load vehicles.
Second,
thank you, Kevin. Any other discussion or questions?
I would have been at least 2.
yeah, for 500, go for it, baby.
You can do that.
We are looking at it from every single angle.
Yeah.
A new one can go anywhere from 200 to 300. There's a version from the state new that we're what, 229,000.
Yeah. Yep.
We'd have to do some adjustments, but that it's 500,000 will get us to. That's all I'm going to say.
I
Okay,
know.
one way or the other.
Don't sell yourself short.
And how much do used ones usually go for?
It depends on the version. In our price range, I looked at it 2018 today online for 169,000.
Okay.
And that would be a good price. They're usually closer to 200. Even used. It would be nice to get new, obviously.
I have a little bit of a preference to setting the district up to transition to alternative fuel vehicles sooner than later. I realize it's a little premature now for this organization. But while I'm supportive, I would rather make decisions that don't lock us in longer than necessary as that technology evolves and the fleet can be transitioned gracefully.
Actually, real quick, so there is one of the versions of the new trucks we're looking at. They do offer an electric thing. So I was going to get some information. They actually had just last Thursday. We weren't able to make it, but they invited us to go look at their demo for an electric truck. I think part of the thing that's going to come about is a lot of municipalities move towards that. There's going to be a lot of good deals on people trying to get rid of their other trucks. We definitely don't want to get used and just kick this problem down to where all of a sudden we're back here in 2 years because our fleet is old again. But there is a lot of cool stuff starting to come out, and I think as a district, we are looking into that. They offer 50% off of this electric thing, but it is $100,000 more than the state contract. So, and they were working on trying to get me state pricing for it. So as of right now, it'd be about $329,000, and that's with the 50% discount. But Rocky Mountain, there's grants where they'll come down and build the charging station on your facility.
Right.
So, I mean, I think we're getting there, and I think this technology is going to start exponentially moving forward to where it's going to be more and more accessible, because especially in this community, I agree 100%. I mean, for us we should always keep that in our views and present information, and we have looked at them too.
Okay.
Just for your
Great, that's fantastic. And also, you probably know this, but it seems like how all the IRA spending is, those programs are still getting developed and fleshed out. And so there may be grants.
Yes,
or financing.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that once these things become more available and stuff, there's going to be a huge incentive to try to push people to try to get into it and stuff. So.
And because we did get the bottom end of the fleet that, when the previous owner left.
Yes.
If we can get some really good deals on the good used trucks to replace the ones that are really in bad shape here, move that direction until we can get the everything lined up for the electrics,
And that's, I mean, like California just recently passed. They drew a hard line, and there's almost new trucks sitting there that can't touch asphalt there. So there's a huge inventory that's going to be moving over the next couple of years, moving to the inner part of the United States.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these bigger cities, I don't, coastal, I guess. I don't know if you got any experience on the East Coast there, but I know California is pushing hard to move that way, and we can benefit from some of that as well.
Speaking of quiet streets, can you imagine an electric garbage truck? Electric garbage truck whizzing down the road, not going.
Well, we might need to create some noise just to make it safety issues.
Little bells that ding when they back up.
And maybe the ice cream trucks sound.
A bunch of kids following the garbage trucks.
All right, any further discussion? See none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Approval of a standardized policy in regards to community events and non-for-profit service requests.
There'll be a copy of that policy.
There's a little misconception of whether we're part of the government, whether we're part of the county, whether we're part of the city, whether we're privately owned still. the previous owner of the collections did give out some discounted and or free service for certain, not all, but for certain events. We've had a handful of them just in the 6 weeks that I've been here. Being a governmental entity, it is very difficult for us, if not illegal and impossible to pick and choose. So just this week, we had another governmental entity ask for free service. Basically, I'd like the board to make a policy that any not-for-profit be given a discounted rate, not free service, but a discounted rate of no container use fees, also called rental in my world. And we'll waive the delivery fee, but they still pay the disposal and any other fees. And just do it across the board, basically.
So, again, some perspective from the city. We used to do, when I first came on city council, sort of did an ad hoc donations to local community groups, and it was kind of whoever thought to ask. And then when we went to formalize it, our attorneys informed us that there was case law governing this, and that local governments, at least in Utah, are not charities. They can give resources to groups that provide services that the local government might provide, but doesn't.
Such as the multicultural center, CK.
Exactly.
What was that?
Such as multicultural center, Sea Haven, and nonprofits or charitable organizations that are providing a service that is not being provided by the government. So like we couldn't give to
Wabi Sabi? They couldn't give you Wabi Sabi?
because they're not providing the service that that is need, that we are, like you need a shelter for women. You can count for that. You could argue that we need a place for people to go to get language services and such, but the government isn't providing that. Wabi Sabi is just a place that it's a pass through. We could give to organizations. So.
And then, I'm not sure. So this is, but what's being proposed is just for nonprofits, not special events.
And I think special events, see, I would have told Jameson, who called and asked us, I said, no, that should be charged to the eventer.
Yeah.
The event holders, sheriff's office shouldn't be paying for this. County shouldn't be paying for this. The people who are putting on the event, who are earning the money, pay for that.
Exactly.
Right, well, any of the special events that apply to the city or the county, part of their application is in waste management. And so they should already have that worked out. And
Maybe he got confused because he's new on the job.
maybe, but then the county, supporting special events, the county has a program for that via, via the grant program, but then they have specific criteria where it's helping events get off the ground, or ones that
Are
cater-
providing
are
services for the community and
right.
visitors.
So, given all this, I'm a little reluctant to approve a policy for this entity other than just saying no. Because
That's just background, isn't it? That's just background.
What's just background?
The thing about the Jeep Safari.
Yes.
I went online and looked up special service districts in Utah to see if I could see some special service district like us and what they're doing. And I found one Wasatch Waste and Recycling. And they have a special events garbage entry in their charts, and they have a special events recycling in their charts. They also say clearly, because maybe people know that you're just new here, and maybe some of that is that. But what they say on their website is something we could say, because they're a special service. We are a government agency, so fees are to maintain costs of services. There is no profit made by this district. Clear, red print. But the other thing is, I see, I don't know how we would be involved in this, but I see here an opportunity for us, if we give something to these people, and we want something from these people too, then why couldn't we work out some sort of a strategy where we would say, we'll give you this, but we require that you have, that you do recycling. I mean, this would take some thought, some planning, but they would get the discount because they would then also be recycling. And Jessica came to mind. They have these trail ambassadors in town now, and it works because I've encountered some of them, and they're really energetic, and they know what they're doing, and they've learned the environment here. We could have recycling ambassadors, and no, we wouldn't do the work as the ambassador, but we would train, if they chose, we could have a program where we could train them at these like special events to know what to do with the waste and, the recycling and get something out of our gift if we're going to give. But I think we visited this before, and it basically, the bottom line I remembered is that governmental agencies, because we're not private like we were before, they don't do that stuff. And you've got to make it clear that we can't do that stuff. I mean, I hear that we're pretty strapped for money. My personal opinion is, why would we do that? So,
And that was my gut reaction too. But I want to be able to, and I'm just saying, I was looking at both sides. I thought this was a good happy medium to still be involved in the community, to still try and give something back without drawing a line in the sand and say absolutely not. My gut reaction was, we can't do this at all. But I was trying to find something in the middle, to be honest.
it's hard to say no. But as we get more involved in the community with programs and to me, you got to enable people to recycle. They're not going to recycle. You've got to enable them. You've got to make it look like it's fun. And you are having fun. I have fun. Jessica's having fun. So, then you sell yourself. And if you clearly state that, if you
Well,
clearly
that's what they usually, yeah.
That's what they were asking for, not recycle.
Mhm.
but there's an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, the city and the county as the special event permitters, we could add that as a requirement.
You should.
To separate and recycle.
Well, that they have to
Provide.
provide recycling as well as trash.
We have to be ready for that, but yes, you could.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I volunteered at a couple of local events as the recycling coordinator. The most recent one being the Arts Festival,
Right.
and actually source separated the whole time
You did it?
during the whole thing.
Yeah, so see, wasn't it fun?
And a lot of work too, right?
Yes, it's a lot of work, but you can
If you keep up with it, not
Trail
really.
ambassadors are paid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm
I
talking
just
about is
don't like
the ambassadors for recycling they're people that that filling out the form for you. They're the people that are making money on this special event. So they're required to have these people, and we could train them. We could have a program and train these people.
Just point of order, it's 6:11, and I know I have things I need to do, and this is a wonderful conversation, but it's not on the agenda. I think it would be a good thing to put on the agenda for another time to discuss ambassadors or ways to encourage recycling.
But back to the point. We brought up Mike, on, just allowing them to, I mean, they collect it, we would waiver the hauling fee. How much is that percent?
Well, we would waive the delivery fee. which
Delivery
is, depending on the distance, 100, 150, 200, it depends on the distance. And then the daily rental is $7 a day.
So they would pay the daily rental. We would just waive.
They would pay the disposal fee. If it's a 20 and it's $450 to empty it, that's what they would pay.
This is
Yeah.
the pricing. I
Oh,
have
thank
pulled
you.
it up.
I do not,
This is our special events pricing down
you.
below.
Yeah,
now read it to me.
You want me to read it to you?
Well, I can't see. I'm just now getting to where I can see it. There it is.
So another
So-
factor that we discussed in the
There you
city
go.
is that by providing basically a grant for special events, then nonprofits that aren't so special event focused may do equally valuable work. We're missing out. And so how do we make, if we are donating to different groups, how do we make that equitable?
right.
So to me, this came up because you got the answer and we talked about different things. And I basically said, the event has to pay for it. The
Right.
event has to pay for it. But I think this is a discussion we've had before, and it's something that really can't be decided tonight. There's too many nuances.
It's on the agenda as an action item. We care to either we could just back Mike and say no, and he can say, the board said no for these
Okay.
reasons.
We could do that. So
Or you could postpone it if you want to continue it. And have staff put more time into it.
postpone it till next year. I mean, if we postpone it, I mean, there's too much. We have so much on our plate. I don't think this is something we should be taking our time with at this time. I think at this point, I love the idea of what you said about putting that on our website. And, I think it's really important that we do that. And I think for disasters, like if we have another fire or something, that's it. Then we pitch in and we do what we need to do, like we did after the flood. But I think we just have to really draw a line in the sand and say we can't do it.
How many people have approached you by just 1, 2 of these groups?
Four
Four.
so far.
Like one a week.
4 in 1 week.
No, 4, like one a week.
Oh, I see. So that's what it is.
So,
They held off for a couple weeks after we got here.
Wanted to make sure he got his desk cleared.
I make a motion that we not provide discount rates for nonprofits and special events.
I second.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Diane. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Make us the bad
You
guy.
have to say no now.
Yes.
Put it on the website, put it in red on the website. We are a government agency. We make no money. Look up Washington. It was wonderful. Washington Waste and Recycling.
Washington or Wasatch?
Wasatch.
Oh,
Waste-
Wasatch.
Waste and Recycling, and I can't remember where exactly but they had it clear on their website.
We'll be doing that. Definitely.
Then we know how to use the website.
Yes, thank you,
Now that
Jessica.
we've got access to it, we're gonna use it.
Yeah, there you go.
So under
Howard.
future considerations, we look forward to draft budgets and cash flow for facilities, PTIF Fund and Acquisitions Fund, and our next regularly scheduled meeting is set for Wednesday, April 19th, 2023. So we have reached the end of our agenda.
If there's no objections, I will adjourn this.
If there's no objections, I will adjourn this meeting.
6:17.
Good job.
It was a good meeting. It was good to be here, everybody.
It was.
I'll let you.
Best
Thank you
of
for
my
the
life.
snacks.
Yes, indeed. I'll bring some
Definitely.
snacks next time.